We're always told to just stop caring what other people think, that it's a sign of weakness, some kind of insecurity. But what if that nagging worry is actually a type of wisdom? What if it's an ancient survival instinct that we've just kind of forgotten how to listen to?
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle that big question. Is this worry a weakness or a hidden wisdom? Then we're going to look at a really surprising piece of data that flips the script. We'll get into what tribal intelligence is, but also look at the dark side of belonging. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about why rethinking this whole thing actually matters. A lot.
So let's start with that piece of advice we hear all the time. To be happy, you have to stop caring what people think. But today, we're going to push back on that. We're going to ask if maybe, just maybe, that instinct is something way deeper than just anxiety. And that really brings us to the core question of this whole explainer. It looks simple, right? But the answer, well, it has huge implications for how we see ourselves, how we connect with others, and even how we think about our own mental health. Okay, let's get to the data that sparked this whole investigation. This comes from a huge global survey on psychological well-being with thousands of people from all over the world. All right, so what is this number? Plus 0.0938. Now, I know what you're thinking. That looks like a pretty small number. But in a massive study like this, we're talking almost 2,000 people across 85 countries. That's what researchers call statistically significant. It means there's a real, measurable link between two things you might not expect. So here's the punchline. The data showed a direct connection between worrying about what people think of you and identifying with a very specific value system. This system is part of a model called spiral dynamics, which maps out different worldviews. And the one that lit up in the data? It's called purple. So what the heck is the purple value system? Well, think of it as the original software for human community. It's a worldview that's all about the tribe, about belonging, and about keeping the group safe and harmonious. It's the ultimate we before me mindset. And this is where we get to a really powerful reframe. Why would a worldview all about the group be so linked to this kind of worry? Well, the argument is, it's not about personal insecurity. It's about social survival. This slide just lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, a lot of modern, individualistic cultures would slap the label social anxiety on this feeling. A personal flaw you need to fix. But from the purple perspective, it's not a flaw at all. It's tribal intelligence. It's like a built-in early warning system that keeps the whole group safe by making sure everyone is tuned in to social harmony. I love this quote because it just nails it. In a world where belonging literally means survival, being super sensitive to the group's vibe isn't a bug, it's a feature. The person who senses that tension first is basically acting as the group's immune system. And this isn't just theory. You can see this logic in cultures all over the planet. Think about the Japanese proverb about the nail that sticks out. It's all about group harmony. Or the Mori concept of shame, which isn't about being bad, but a signal to reconnect with your community. It's a survival strategy that has worked for thousands of years. But, of course, there's always a flip side, right? This intense focus on the group, this deep, deep worry about what others think, well, it can have a pretty significant shadow. The source material is really clear about this part. That same trait that works as a survival tool can also become a cage. As you can see, it can stop you from developing a strong sense of self. It can lead to chronic anxiety and shame. It can be used to control people and crush new ideas. And it can even make a whole group unable to adapt to change. So to really get purple's focus, we need to zoom out. The data shows that as worldviews evolve and change, what we prioritize changes too, and pretty dramatically. Purple's focus on belonging is just one stop on a much bigger journey. This table gives us a fantastic snapshot of that journey. Okay, so we've seen that purple is all about belonging, and that connects to worrying about what others think. But look what happens next. The blue system is all about order and purpose, and it correlates with having a sense of direction. Then you get to orange, focused on achievement, which links up with making big plans for the future. Green, which values connection, is about enjoying deep conversations. And yellow, that's about integration, and it correlates with high self-acceptance. Each one is a totally different recipe for a good life. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does this shift from seeing anxiety to seeing tribal intelligence actually matter? Well, it turns out it has some incredibly practical, real-world applications. For professionals, this is a total game changer. A coach can better help a client who comes from a different cultural background.
An HR leader can build a workplace that actually feels inclusive, and a therapist might realize a client's anxiety isn't a personal flaw, but a natural response to feeling cut off from their tribe. And that's really the heart of it. The big idea here isn't to get rid of this fundamental human drive. It's to understand it, to respect it, and to build spaces where people feel safe enough to belong and be their true, authentic selves. And so we'll leave you with a question to think about. Look at your own life, at your job, with your family, your friends. When does that deep need to belong feel like a superpower? And when does it feel more like a cage? The real wisdom, maybe, is in learning to tell the difference for yourself.